Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see you today. We are beginning a new series today called You Are Enough. And there's something very important before we start. When you read that phrase, it's supposed to sound like in your mind and your emotions saying, you're enough, you're good enough. Not, I've had enough of you. That's not what the series is about. This is a series about us realizing who God has truly created us to be and how we can bring that into our everyday life. I live just over here, and right outside of my doorway is, I think, a magnolia tree. It might be a dogwood, Jen? It's a dogwood? So right outside of my door is this beautiful dogwood tree. And spring arrived, and all of a sudden it just exploded with life and color. And I remember that every year that I see that tree, there's a lesson that I learn about beauty from that tree outside of my window. Why do I find the tree ugly in the winter and beautiful in the spring? I think it's because I have a very complex relationship with time. Maybe you do too. I think a lot of us have that. And this is where I would like us to start in this series, looking at how our perception of time impacts our perception of what beauty truly is. Here's what I would like you to remember today if you're taking notes. What we call beauty is simply our recognition of something appearing at its perfect moment. What we call beauty is simply our recognition of something appearing at its perfect moment. The book of Ecclesiastes says this: He, meaning God, has made everything beautiful in its time. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Notice that. It doesn't say God's time. It doesn't say what someone else perceives about time and how they expect things of you. It says God makes everything beautiful in its time. When I was a kid, there was this song that we used to sing in church all the time, and maybe you recognize it. It went, in his time, he makes all things beautiful in his time. Anybody know that one? Did you know that the lyrics to that song are completely wrong? That they teach something wrong? They teach something that Scripture doesn't teach? It doesn't say he has made everything beautiful in his time. God makes the thing beautiful in its time. That's a really important distinction we need to understand about beauty. Most of us live by what I like to call consensus time. We have measurements for hours and years that we've collectively agreed upon as societies. We mark our calendars, we measure our lives by this shared construct of time. But the Scriptures reveal to us that there is another kind of time called divine time, or what you might want to call objective time. Another passage says this: but do not forget this one thing, dear friends. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. So the Lord is not slow concerning his promises, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you. If there is any tension we live in constantly as human beings, it is where our consensus time butts up against God's objective time. To God, the tree outside of my window, the dogwood tree outside of my window, I suppose it's possible that that tree could live for 1,000 years. And if that was the case, I would be dead and gone for so long. But to God, it would just be like one day in the life of that tree. The seasons that I perceive as lengthy, some of them dissatisfying, cold, and lifeless, those things happen in consensus time for me, but to God, they happen very quickly. And this is also how God sees human time, the lives that we lead. Where we see these disconnected, frustrated moments, God actually sees a unified masterpiece. Where we perceive delays, we just can't wait to get there, it's just taking so long. God sees that as necessary development. Where we experience waiting, God already sees the beauty that will come. God's time, divine time, objective time, is not God's way of making us wait arbitrarily. Rather, it is about each created thing, you, me, that bench, everything else. It's about each created thing having its own perfect season for blooming. And if we can really take that to heart, we will be much better people in the world. And the other people in the world will be much better to us. If we can just accept the fact that the pressure that we feel and the pressure that someone else feels is based on a different timeline. And it's okay if we slow down and accept one another and just let everybody be where they are when they're there on the way to where they're going. When we rush growth or we get stuck in comparisons of our timeline with another's timeline, what we're actually doing in every one of those moments is distorting the unique beauty that God designed specifically for that individual. And similarly, our purposes and our transformations arrive when we're genuinely prepared, when we're genuinely ready. I spent a great deal of my 30s, I'm nearing 50 now. I spent almost all of my 30s pushing in my career. I wanted to get where I wanted to be in my career as quickly as I could, regardless of the consequences. And so I was working at the time as a pastor in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I got invited by one of the churches in our denomination to be a pastor at a congregation in New York. And I was blown away by the offer. It was a great job. It was working at the flagship congregation in our denomination in one of the most exciting places in the world. And my life up to that point, my work and personal life balance had some reality in my life. I've always been a bit tunnel visioned and I like to work. But when I got to New York, I was now in the city where you could just work all the time, never stop, and people actually celebrated it. It was like a badge of honor if you stayed longer and had more projects and made more connections. And if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have put some kind of mechanism in place to help me operate with my time and my energy more according to God's plan than to my own. And I honestly remember at the time working there and watching relationships in my life become strained and losing touch with things that were actually meaningful and important in my life, just kind of setting them aside for work for another season and thinking, I'll finally get back to it, I'll finally get back to it, one day I'll get back to it. But that just never came. And I would gladly give up that period of advancement in my life if it meant I was able to keep some of the things that are most meaningful to me. But I traded them because I was operating according to consensus time instead of God's time. Wherever you are in your own development this morning, maybe you are tempted to label areas of your life as unfinished or failed. Maybe you look at your life and it feels like a construction zone all of the time. What I want you to know today is that those things in your life, in your emotions, in your schedule, the way you feel, the way it's impacting your thinking, that rush, that pushing, that constantly feeling like you need to catch up and be better, those feelings are not evidence of inadequacy. They are you wrestling with consensus time versus divine time. They're not evidence of something bad going on. They're actually evidence of something good. You're perceiving this force in your life that's just saying, go, get it done. Look what that guy's got. Look where he is. You can do better than that. It's tough to be hearing that from one side and then hearing in your heart from God, slow down. Be a person of character. Maintain your relationships. Don't do all this for money. Those two things are completely at odds with one another. And eventually, we have to pick which one we're going to lean into. Jesus said you can't serve two masters. Do we take God's time, which results in beauty, or consensus time, which results in disaster? What we call beauty is simply our recognition of something appearing at the perfect moment. And you have not missed your moment today. I know that I don't know everybody's story in here, but one thing that's true, you have not missed your moment. You're living precisely in the season necessary for what you truly want to become. Can you start looking at that timeline more like a God and less like a tree? God makes everything beautiful in its time. Not his time, not society's time, but your time. And you can rest in that. You can breathe around that. You can trust around that. Let's pray.